just merely a title, and titles can be aplenty. I am one of the leaders at Save the Children, and I have been in leadership position for last almost 2 decades now in various places and forms. And I think this, in a larger development context, I would say whatever it takes is what is generally the slogan. But it's, I mean, we compartmentalize ourselves in various forms in various organizations, but life out there doesn't exist like that. It's everything together for a marginalized family. They don't have parcels of health, education, nutrition, or children, women, men, or younger, older, or something. It's one family and one community, and everything happens right there and then, sometimes unfortunately together. And whatever can go wrong does go wrong. So droughts, floods, fires, all everything, so what unites them is their vulnerability. Here at Save the Children, we are focused, our priority, our reason for existence is because we believe a large number of children in India, in millions, are very vulnerable and in a fragile situation. And we feel that if their future is at stake, so is the future of this country. That no country whose youth are not secure, whose children are not secure or growing to the fullest, can itself imagine to progress in the 22nd century or in the rocket era. So we are only as strong as our weakest. And on one side, we say we are one of the biggest young force we have. On the other side, we have the largest vulnerable children in the country. So ever since I've come to Save, this particular year and last few months have been unlike most times in some ways. People have been talking about pandemic, about social distancing, about the new normal, and about technology in context. Um, I think the words are meant in a certain way, but I think we need to understand them in a larger context. I think we think there is physical distancing which has helped us to create social undistancing. So Save the Children is all about letting every child know that there's somebody whom they can reach out to, that we are not at a distance, we are near them, and we shall reach out to them. They matter to us. We'll put everything else aside and make sure that if a child is in need and is in search of us, we will be there for the child. If we look at a larger context, then those who are most vulnerable, they get hit by anything which is out of the normal, and not because of that context by itself, but because of everything else that happens around it. So pandemic means application of technology. So poor children, if they don't have used, they're not used to technology or they don't have access to technology, that is more of an apada, so to say, than the COVID itself. If they suddenly the food prices have shot up, and if accessibility has become a big challenge, or both those things, then it's the nutrition, food, and health that becomes an issue. And none of it may have directly something to do with COVID or the pandemic. And technology, I already mentioned, can be a new inequality. Employment is the fourth. So we at Save the Children have been trying to take everything as normal as possible to make sure, can a child who's already living in a tentative, fragile existence, can we bring stability to them in every manner? So we've been giving a lot of value to emotional stability, to inner strength, and to the context of children's capacities being built. We can't take over the nature, we can't stop calamities. Pandemics, we wish they don't happen, but they are beyond our comprehension and control. But what we can certainly do is at the other end, the receiver's end, make them more resilient, focus on their capacities, focus on systems and processes around them which can help them to get access to things which become more difficult to access during any crisis. That the problem problems that they are facing, the solutions for them can come from within. The requirement of people like us is to just be the catalyst to unlock those potentials and discover. And so I have not had any background, so to say, cooperative or rural or farming or anything. All that is foreground. It's not background. It's something that I've gone and done because that's what seemed to be inviting me. Ki, this is what is required to be done, and this is what could make help. And I had to learn about those things. The other background which I have is I have the humility to accept that I'm not the wisest. I don't know all. I'm not an expert, and whatever little I know is far less than those who are actually living certain situations. They are the primary stakeholders. So one thing that has stood me throughout these all these years is bringing their voices to be heard, bringing their thoughts on forefront and looking at resources and trying to get them to be represented where the resources flow from, and make the two meet and meet to bring a change. I look at me and my team as a catalyst. We are not really the doers. We unlock the potentials. One of our biggest focus points is how do more and more children find space, agency, and voice and identity to participate in the processes which influence their well-being. That's our foremost concern. The children need to participate in those processes. Secondarily, we believe that there is a combination of small is beautiful, things need to happen very locally, and there is a relevance of scale. Both have a relevance in certain mutually exclusive spaces. Save is trying to walk in both these spaces. In terms of scale, we love to, and it's our priority to work with government and other agencies where there can be a bigger collaboration, coalition, partnership for multiplier effect of any good practices and ideas of anybody, not just ours. Children first, children second, and children last for us, whatever it takes and whoever, wherever. At small is beautiful level, we look at implementation of programs which are very localized and which are prioritized and driven by local perspectives at every smallest unit that they happen. So between these two, the knowledge and the best practices and the ability to between to do and to think the flows. So we don't have thinkers who have never done anything. We don't have doers who are not licensed to think. And I think that is the biggest change we are trying to make as a culture, as a culture of development engagement. So we are looking at design principles which are more holistic in nature. So for us, while we exist for children, but our focus is with the recognition that to impact best for children, we need to look at the whole society as a large and engage with different contexts of society. Like all organizations, we have our stated values and first principles. Values are something which can remain in a book or on a PPT or on the walls. Values can be something that can be breathed, allowed, and felt and lived by a whole team. So we are making a culture by practicing these values and reminding each other and offering ourselves to be called out in terms of living the values into practice. And first and foremost is of course children first or no. So that's our primary context in terms of translating a thought, abstract thought into idea collectively. The second part is that we believe, I mean, in entire engagement with children, it's about relationship. Everything is grounded in relationships and being true to relationship. So as an organization, as a people-centric organization, we get the same practice internally also, make sure we are consistent. Third thing that I'm trying to promote actively and bring, and this is not just for this, I believe it in a larger life, that accountability, I mean, responsibility, authority, and accountability are two sides of the same coin. And I believe that accountability is much better practiced when it is made as self accountable. We volunteer. I mean, I think social sector, that's where we can distinguish ourselves. Instead of being asked to or demanded from or something, we should be setting the highest standards of accountability by making ourselves available. So I'm working within our organization as a team to bring about this self accountability as a culture, as a thing. So on the whole, I think the agenda is to have a living organization, one which feels, breathes, constantly changes and evolves and is dynamic, because the situation under which the children are living is very dynamic. So there is no way we can even for a second rest saying that everything is now predictable or like a factory condition, because it's not and it will never be. And so our ability is to trust and unlock that capacity of that ownership mindset and of a servant leadership in every employee of ours, every team members of ours, every family member of Save as an organization. The target is not a single child left out. So this thing about 100,000, 1 million, 4 million, I think are reference points in planning process. But till we are failing some children or other, I think the agenda is not to rest till then. And it's also to recognize that these are not just do it yourself models. We are into an engagement where we are trying to see methods, knowledge, system, and process that we could generate as collaterals, which we want to make available to others. And in collaboration, in partnership, in convergence, we want to look at the multiplier effect. Mostly plans are made to fall short of and then struggle to reach them. I believe that we shall surprise ourselves by exceeding that brief, but by exceeding it, what I mean is in in collaboration, in partnerships, and looking at multiplier effect by ownership of this agenda by a much larger set of people. So from 12 states to all the states and union territories, and over the next 5 years. So it's not about us, it's about the children. So we exist because there is an agony for children. So this is not a scale which is something reference for our annual report or something. We care that there is somebody in suffering and somebody is in pain, and they are not just numbers, they are live people. So we want to make sure that we don't let down or disappoint any child who has hopes from us. And like I said, the method is how do we converge, how do we leverage resources which are scattered around, and how do we look at everything holistically. There are things we are very good at. We want to offer those things to organizations which are doing something else and where this fits into be a piece. There are things that other organizations are very good at, and we want to bring them into our domain to strengthen and collaborate. And I think the multiplier effect will come there, and the escape velocity for doing it shall come from the spirit of oneness in ownership of, of the issue, and being a part of the solution, not part of the problem. We are like a typical federated organization. So we have a support office at the central level. We call it not headquarters, but National Support Office, in the spirit of knowing that the real heroes are the frontier people, people who are out there in the field. So we have this field program implementing people. Then we have some regional level organization which helps unburden some of their process related issues. And then we have a national support office where thematic knowledge is generated, strategic planning, some financial resources, and capacity building and all. So like that. But I I want to share here one unique feature which which is the like which is like a part and parcel of the same ethos. which is very noticeable in the first 2 months. And I think it comes from its very active engagement in humanitarian places. There's not a single person who's not willing to do something. I mean, when the situation comes, all of the team takes every load they can. So one doesn't say I'm an accountant or I'm a HR specialist or I'm a children's rights person or nutrition or something. All hands on the deck. It's a very enthusiastic, willing, energetic team which I have inherited. And while I don't even think of stepping into somebody's shoes, because each shoes are different size and different context, and the time and space is different. But I think I've inherited a very formidable, potentially dynamic and a very gritty organization at that. Yeah, I'm very lucky and fortunate and thankful to be a part of the journey. I look at the whole development paradigm as a whole set of challenges in front of us, and I don't see resources as a challenge. I see resources as a constraint and something. So I look at myself as a person who's like a connector of various things, where we are looking at unlocking a lot of latent potential so that we are able to manage with less resources to do more, to spread more, to be more impactful, and to be deep diving and to be addressing more holistically, even while we become optimized in resources and we are able to generate our own resources. When I say resources, our own, I mean the knowledge and the competencies and able to offer them to others so that they too can multiply further. I am in a hurry. I am in a hurry because I feel guilty that 70 plus years after independence, if we still have a few million potential future citizens struggling merely to survive, I think every day lost is a day this country is put to risk, and therefore, yeah, I would like to make sure that whatever it takes,